Hey guys, it's Sam and welcome back to the Bulbasquad. So today we are going to be covering the two categories of growth within the hobby. Yes, some of you are going to be a little concerned about that I'm bringing it all down into two categories, but you'll see what I mean. So there are two categories for the way growth goes into the hobby, and it's actually really easy to try and differentiate them and which one is in the transitionary period. And these two categories are population-driven cards and awareness-driven cards. So, to give you guys a quick example, population-driven cards would be these. Set cards, English main set, even English promos I would say. Even English box toppers, which these are a little more in the gray area. So what that means is their price directly correlates with the health and size of the hobby. So the more people that come into the hobby, the higher the prices of these cards will be. Simply put, why? Everyone knows it. You come into the hobby, what's one of the first things you're going to see? You're not going to come into the hobby and see a Mega Absol from Battle Festa. No, many of you who are watching this probably have never even seen or heard of this card. No, you're going to come into the hobby, you're going to see this. Right away you could be like, ooh, shining. It's like, it's really easy. And some of you might even find the box toppers and go, oh, these things are great, and go for that. That is population driven. If the hobby as a whole takes a downturn, those cards specifically will follow it downwards. You can see it right now with almost every single set. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have awareness driven cards. These would be, I don't have any big ones on me right now, but these would be essentially this card I was showing, and World Hobby Fair cards, which that's what I have right now to show as an example. But think trophy cards, unnumbered promos, I would even argue Japanese vending series, possibly even Masaki promos, even though those are very well known and have high demand. What makes an awareness-driven card is, one, the average person isn't going to know them. Again, if I walk up to someone and ask them, do you know what a Shining Magikarp is? Or Charizard, base set Charizard, do you know what that is? Most people are going to say yes. Or if they don't know, they might know other Shining cards. You get the gist. But if I go up to someone and ask them, do you know what a University Magikarp is? Do you know what let me think of another one. Do you know, I guess, technically even the poncho cards? So I'll explain in a bit. Essentially items that most people don't know. And don't worry, I'm going to expand on how you would move within these categories later. And we have the third one, which is the transitionary. The reason I have this up here as a transitionary is because this is somewhere in between. Essentially, this is directly correlated to the health of the hobby, but again, this is a Japanese exclusive promo. You don't exactly see them all that easily. So a lot of people aren't exactly aware of them. A lot of the normies, I guess you could say. And because of that, it's somewhere in between. It is on its way to becoming a population-driven card. Now, what does this mean for how you want to move into these two categories? Well, plain and simple, it means over here is technically your higher risk, over here is your more established. These are just going to be essentially, think growth stocks. They're just going to go up as time passes on, so long as the hobby as a whole remains healthy. These, on the other hand, are high risk, because you don't know what they're going to do, usually, unless we're talking trophy cards, in which case, again, rarity is king and doesn't care about your feelings, and it's incredible because it'll just ignore everything. But for everything else that is in this awareness category, if, for whatever reason, it is ever swept up into the population-driven category, think Mario Pikachu, Mario Luigi, or Luigi Pikachu. Those two were in the awareness category for a long time. They were kind of sitting in there. Some people knew they existed, others didn't, but they weren't this big thing like they are right now. And then they went through the transition. But when an awareness item hits the transitionary period, depending on how big that shift is in awareness, whereas this one would be a normal steady growth, these go typically they can go exponential for a little bit. They will grow incredibly fast to accommodate for the fact that Possibly because they were in this awareness category, enough time passes, there's not as much supply out there for the demand that it's suddenly going to be gaining. As well as, obviously, you're adding a ton more demand to the supply that was already existing, and so it is going to cause the prices to shift. And that is where these are interesting. If you can call it right, you decide to do your due diligence, you decide, all right, I'm going to go for it, I'm going to bet on this, and you're right, it can increase quite a bit. But keep in mind, because these are unproven, because they lack awareness, which it might not even be awareness, it might be lack of interest. Remember, just like the pop report, the population also doubles the popularity report. Sometimes cards aren't there because people don't care about them, just like here. Sometimes the prices aren't there because people don't care about them. Perfect example. This is an $80 card. Or no, I picked it up for $50, I think. Pop 1 of 1. It might be pop 1 of 2, I don't know. But it's the only 10, I know that. And is that because no one cares about the World Hobby Fair cards? Is it because they're hard to find? No, it's not. Is it maybe that they just haven't been noticed? I don't know. We'll see what happens. That's what the gamble is. If you guys are risk averse and don't like it, go for your main set cards. You'll go for the main set cards, preferably the higher grades. I guess you could technically get a PSA 7 unlimited, but I just like these cards. I would not personally be banking on a 7 unlimited. I'd go for at least a first edition 7 or 8. And box toppers. So I'm just going to say this outright. I personally think box toppers are very underrated. Those of you who have made it this far get this info. Box toppers only come out of a freshly opened box. There's not that many out there. And they're not that expensive, honestly. Me and Sarah picked up both of these for $400 combined, a 7 and an 8. And both of these come out of, which one is that? The Sky Ridge and the Expedition box. So Expedition, no clue how much that costs. Sky Ridge, I know we're looking at 20-something thousand. And you're telling me the card that only comes out of a Sky Ridge box is $200? You see what I mean? But there, that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Tell me, what did you guys think about my classifications? Do you think there's maybe a third one I did not personally consider? If so, drop it down below in the comments. Maybe even tell me, what do you think about the box toppers I just talked about? Do you think maybe it's one of those cases where I'm just biased because I like jumbo cards? Because clearly I do. I bought those just because I like them. I'm not really investing in them. Maybe eventually, but I like them right now. So, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.